Let's see if everything's working. I need my sound to come out of my headphones. We'll do that. Output to that. Is it still working? Oh, wait, I see it. Okay. Hello, hello. Okay. How do we... Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to try. Yeah, I just set up this OBS thing. I wanted to try the Twitch chats. We'll go over the cameras. Should work. Oh, let's go. Okay, okay, so got the Twitch chat. Oh, that's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. I wanted to resize it though. Put it here. Kind of put it like over this. Cool. Nice. Awesome. Okay, time to learn about coding AI agents. So today I'm gonna go over I can mute the Twitch now. Alright, so today I'm gonna go over kinda coding this startup idea. It was called F-Code originally, but essentially what I'm trying to do is write in this kind of AI functionality. You can see F code actually to the left of the screen here. It's a very human in the loop way. This is like a very old version and just like a mock-up prototype of it. But essentially what it does is it's a very human in the loop way to start vibe coding. That I thought was a good idea. So it takes in a task file as input and allows you to actually type out all the different code that you would need so you have a better understanding. I felt like one of the things that I never was very good at was understanding what I was kind of vibe coding, and this application has helped me a lot with trying to understand what these different AI systems are, what these different LLMs are actually outputting, and if there's any gaps in their logic. I feel like nowadays more than ever, we rely a lot on these different AI application, like Cursor, Claude Code, Codex, and some of them are more human in the loop than other ones. But essentially, I was trying to make a way where I can still type the code that I want to type, but I need to essentially be able to understand more of what these AI systems are like outputting. But in order to do that, throughout this series, we will literally need to go and create an entirely own harness. I could connect to like Claude Code locally on my computer, and that might be an option in the future. But right now, we're just trying to figure out how to use these base AI models to code a harness that can complete different coding tasks for me. So day one, I'm just rewriting this AI app that you see on the left, this F code application. And essentially, or I guess it's day two now, but day two, we're not really focusing on AI or anything like that. I'm literally just trying to make a LLM client, and the AI that goes into this. The first time I went to code this application, I just was prompting Cursor and Claude Code, and I felt like it was good. Like you can see it on the left, like it's pretty good. We have the harness made and everything. I was doing it in Swift. I'm thinking about moving over to Electron to actually code it, just so I have like Windows compatibility as well. But it was pretty good, but I just didn't know how to like build on top of it, and it gets to a point where you have to go past the stage of just making like a prototype. So I'm kind of building F code with F code in this live stream. Like this is the prototype, but I'm rebuilding F code entirely with just using the application. So let me test this out. But first, yesterday or today, I literally just have this set up. I just made this types. I guess the Twitch chat is in the wrong place again. I made this types, class that essentially just takes in like an LLM role, a system, a user, an assistant. It takes in an LLM message. The LLM message gets extended by an LLM request, which has a model, a JSON schema name, max tokens, temperature, just like a bunch of settings that go in. And I think this one, and then we have an LLM client that essentially just has a function dot complete, which takes in an LLM request. And then we have an LLM response, an LLM finished reason, a missing API key error. So these are just errors that we can output into our OpenAI client if anything goes wrong. So it's a missing structured output error, an invalid structured output error, a response truncated error. And we can now go and start working on this OpenAI client. But we are going to be doing it with the prototype that we have created. So let's go back. This is the prototype that I'm trying to build on top of. So we can import. So essentially how this prototype works is it's kind of like ADHD in a sense, but it makes you type out like the actual code if you want to, of like what was actually generated. And ever since I was like in school or anything like that, I always learn better just typing it out myself. I know it seems like kind of really stupid, like, oh, why don't you just like, you know, just make it write the code for you, like how everyone has been used to. But honestly, I don't really like, I don't learn well. I'm not part of the process in, you know, those cases. So I'm going to go through with this. So we've made that class that I showed before. We're importing the LM client, the LM request, the LM response, and then the different ways it could go wrong. And we're trying to essentially make this OpenAI client. So we can create a class OpenAI client that implements the LLM client. And we will need to extend that one function that I showed before. So if we go back to the cursor, we have this function here, or an interface function called complete. So we will have, if we extend the LLM client, we will have to implement this complete function that I showed you guys in types. So we can start by, so the OpenAI client will take a couple strings, type of fetch. Okay, so it takes an API key, a base URL. Let's see if I can get this. So we're going to essentially send in these, I guess we're using the openai.com/v1 sender type of fetch equals global this dot fetch this API key. So we just have to declare all of these. So we're passing in API key, the base URL, which is just the v1 completions URL, the sender. I don't know what this essentially does, type of fetch global this dot fetch, but it would be cool if we had like a feature where we could highlight what these things do and it would tell us. But you know, this is why you use the applications that you're actually coding. And I only stick to making applications for myself nowadays. Before, I would really be into trying to create entire companies, but honestly, I just would never really use the, I would just never use the application myself. And I feel like the best way to actually get something up and going is just using the application. So this is why I'm trying to see if I can take everything that I did in Cursor and just move it fully over to Fcode here. But this is a complete request, which takes that LLM request that I had, which takes a model string, a list of LLM messages, a JSON schema name, a JSON schema. I'm guessing this JSON schema is what is like kind of like the model output, and like in the way that it, like in the structure that it has to output the LLM request in. We have max tokens, we have temperature, so everything is looking good so far for this OpenAI client. So yeah, so if it doesn't have an API key, we're going to throw that missing API key error that showed before. And we're going to replace URL is a subbase URL, replace the slashes. And use Cursor in order to learn about what I am writing, as that will be okay. I'm going to use a very small model though. Let me try to reuse, I guess for the model that I can use for Cursor, it would probably be best to use a GPT model. Just so, okay, cool. So this just removes a trailing slash if it exists. So if you pass in the base URL and it accidentally has a slash at the end of it, we'll remove that because slash chat and slash completions, while we do that, that's good. So this even prototype harness is looking for edge cases like that, which I really do like. And you know, this harness is not using anything crazy. It's using GPT 4.1. So the coding has actually been really good with just the prototype harness. I think like the main reason I wanted to kind of recode this from scratch again is just because like I just was doing so much vibe coding that I wasn't understanding a lot of like what I was making. But yeah, we're gonna pass in a body into this, and we could double check like how the OpenAI chat completions actually works. But you pass in a role, you pass in content, you pass in, so we call, I see. So we're mapping the request, which is LLM request, which has a list of messages. We're mapping that to a role for each message and content. And then we're passing in the model that we want to use. Then in terms of the JSON schema, we're getting back a response format. I was going to originally use LangChain for this, but to see if I could like format the responses better. But it seemed like a lot of people were talking about LangChain not being good anymore. And I wonder why. Hidden secret. Why? It is no more a hidden secret that the use case why LangChain and LangChain came into picture and solved the problems for us have become 2 times complicated. So what is next? How did this existence happen? Even though LangChain was a huge buzz amongst developers, by mid-2024, Chase and his team had a problem they couldn't fix by shipping more integrations. LangChain's success had pulled it into use cases it never designed for. If we understood from the previous section, the original mental model was a chain, a straight line of steps from input to output that would fit, yeah. LangGraph was a different shape. It launched in early 2024 and when explicitly available, Chase shifted the model from chain, a straight line, to graph, which is a network of nodes connected by arrows that can loop, branch, and have conditions. Here's the mental model. In LangChain, you describe your app as a recipe. Do step A, then step B, then step C, return the result. In LangGraph, you describe your app as a map. Yeah. In a LangGraph world, you'd model... Native SDK. This is the new default starting point for most teams. The model provider have built enough first-party tooling into their own SDKs that you can skip the framework layer entirely for a lot of use cases. Claude Agent SDK. So let's see. We are currently working on a OpenAI class, but would it make sense to redo this task? Because I don't know, like coding the OpenAI class like this with just using the base chat completions URL seems like a bit of a waste, knowing that they have SDKs. So I'm gonna see if we can like since there is a lot built into the OpenAI SDK, should we be using that or even the Anthropic SDK? Update the task if so. And then I probably, let's finish this. And this was pretty easy. Here, let me share my cursor. I think we can fix this. Currently are working on this. See like the best way to actually make an OpenAI provider for my project. If because I just feel like that way is not like, I guess, like, a lot of people are still using LangGraph. Let's see. I know people... LangGraph remains the industry default when you need an absolute control. This loops and complex human-in-the-loop approvals. Many developers are actually migrating away from it. The primary complaints driving systems to alternatives are its steep learning curve, unnecessary complexity for linear tasks, and heavily coupling to the wider LangChain. I always thought LangChain was way too over complex than it actually should have been. But I remember learning, you know, a lot about just LangChain and then a little bit of LangGraph, and that was pretty complicated. But this is when the definition of agents was like first coming out. So I'm wondering, like, what's the up-to-date, you know, things people use. Pydantic AI, built for the team behind the popular Pydantic data. Pydantic AI has become a top alternative for engineers who want clean, type-safe Python code for multi-agent systems. Crew AI, if your project requires multiple specialized agents acting like a collaborative workspace. Oh yeah, Crew AI. I've heard of that before. You have multiple crews and they can all work together. Master and Vercel AI SDK. I don't know how good though that answer is. Though. So I'm just over here trying to research what kind of the top what are people using for multi-agent systems? Let's go Reddit. I like people on Reddit's opinions. Beside LangChain, what are some other alternatives? Ollama Index, AI SDK, Mastra. I don't know if I've ever heard. Mastra? Let's try to look up what Mastra is. Type AI framework for agents and app. Build more compatible agents. TypeScript framework for AI-powered applications and agents. Agent seems pretty straightforward. Oh, they do the testing. They have like evals online. That's sick. That's really cool. Look through their docs. Maybe something like this could be good for what I am working on. Thinking through whether to use the official OpenAI and Anthropic SDKs versus handling fetch calls for their agent, but the official SDKs would give them better error handling, built-in retry and type safety, but they're also building a multi-provider abstraction layer anyways, so better might be less clear-cut in their specific set. Custom-based URLs, which means it could talk to Ollama's OpenAI compatible endpoint at v1, so theoretically one SDK could cover both OpenAI and Ollama. The SDK handles tool shapes well too, but they're also doing this as a teaching / live stream project, so there's an educational angle to consider about showing raw HTTP interactions. forbid SDKs, just ask for bulletproof structured JSON with 3 providers. I'm gonna see if get the AI to think about Mastra as well, because of testing and evals in the future that we would need. Yeah, let me share my cursor. I'm trying to get OpenAI. Trying to get cursor to figure out what's the best client. And I wanted to consider, like, looking forward, you know, this application's not going to only have to generate complex code, but it will also have to consider, like, we also have to consider, like, evals and testing early on in the project, just because of, like, how these systems get really complex, like, really, really easily. And this is, like, another reason why when you're coding these AI agents, like, you really need to consider how you're going to test these things out early on rather than later. So that's why I'm making it consider Mastra and all these third-party API tools. I could even make it check Reddit as well, but yeah. I'm gonna wait till this is done generating and then see. I also want to try out a nice website tool to generate, like, designs. I feel like UI is, like, one of the things that, like, in terms of, like, not the actual product and what the AI is doing, I feel like once the AI agent and the core complexity of that is, like, built out throughout these couple days, I'm gonna go back into testing out, like, you know, Fable 5 Max and all these other things to, like, you know, complete the website. Claude Design, maybe, you know, there's other things that you can use online. The only thing about design is, like, I feel like a lot of, like, the websites I'm trying to design or other things like that, like, they look like very AI like, but I feel like a lot of that relies on, like, getting the right assets. I don't know if that's the AI's fault specifically. I feel like you just need to, like, have some, like, cool assets made for your website in order to combat that. Have to have, like, logos and, like, icons and other things like that, which I really think, like, design is going to end up becoming, and, like, animations and other things, you know, to make it not look so AI like. But I'm definitely going to use, like, AI in the future to code some of the, like, websites for this project specifically. But just for right now, like, the core complexity of it, I need to essentially, like, know about what specifically, like, I am coding. Why did that even break? Oh. Imports when is node 16 or node next. Did you mean? When dash dash module resolution is node 16. Module resolution is node 16. No, it targets ES 2022. Okay. That doesn't matter too much. Fable 5 has been going off for forever now. Like, I have to comment of like how much research this thing's actually doing. Like, this takes way longer. Like, look at this one train of thought that Fable 5 has been having about the SDK that I've been creating. Like, this is just going on forever and ever and ever. I don't think I've had one train of thought this long in Cursor. I'm using the max, but the context is only set to 300K. But that is insane of like how much thinking it's actually doing before deciding on a specific architecture or pathway. I guess it started, okay, no, it started another thinking process here. It's looking into Mastra now. But this is crazy. It's so like, I feel like with Claude Code, it's so human out of the loop. Like this would never happen if I was using like Codex or something like that. Like, I feel like it just assumes a lot of things like when you're prompting. So I feel like the larger the prompts and the more information you put into your prompts with Fable 5, I feel like it's really important to do that because it will try to connect the dots on what you are actually trying to do. And if you don't have all your information in the prompt itself, I just feel like it could connect the dots wrong, essentially. And it never will like ask you questions or anything like that. But I guess that's more on like the harness, right? Like itself. I guess that's not so much on like the model of like Fable 5. I think that's on like Cursor just like going with the output of the model and just keep going. You know, Claude Code, same idea there. Like it will just try to like connect the dots and just complete the task at hand. But sometimes like it just doesn't have the information. Like you forgot one or two things. Like, you know, you didn't prompt it to complete those things. And I feel like that's like in that case, like if you are you not sure exactly what you're asking about, like Codex is like really good in that sense because it will just involve you back into the loop, right? Okay, so this is what I said. Verdict first. Keep the hand-rolled client. Don't switch to the official OpenAI Anthropic and don't adopt Mastra. Your repo actually already litigated the SDK question in ADR6. Rejected the Vercel AI SDK for the same reasons. So instead of rewriting the day 2 task, I'm going to amend that ADR2 covers tonight's 2 new candidates. So the decision is recorded where the repo says decisions live. The task file stays as is because it already pre-subscribes actually what you built. Here's the reasoning. Look at what your LLM client interface actually needs. One method, complete request, that returns a validated JSON, no streaming, no tool, loops, no file uploads, no assistance, API. Your whole client is 100 lines, and the line you asked about is literally the only URL building the SDK would take off of your hands. Meanwhile, the SDKs would cost you 3 things that matter to the specific design. Your error taxonomy and the product v1's hard-won behavior, empty key throws before any network call, checked before parsing, carrying the raw status would have to be reconstructed by catching the SDK's own error hierarchy. Oh, that actually is really true. Hidden retries break your semantics and your tests. Both SDKs retry failed requests twice by default. Your plan spec inserts things like the fake sender is called exactly once, and HTTP 500 surfaces as your interjectable sender is already the same test scheme the SDKs offer via their fetch option. Cool. Okay, I guess that. Why not master? But it's the framework for loop-style agents, multi-tool calling, memory, durable workflows, reg, its eval/scores answered are built to measure that kind of open-ended chat output. That kind of open Fcode's agent is deliberately not that shape. It's a single structured output completion plus a deterministic placement engine. And its evals are binary, domain-specific questions. Did the anchor resolve uniquely? Did the edit apply in place? Did the project compile? Your plan already contains that eval ladder built from things you own. If request, so we're passing in this request.max tokens.temperature. We're passing it in as an application.json. We're receiving a response. This dot sender. Yeah, what is this? What is the sender here? Okay. Let's go here. Go back to my F code scene. Okay. The parameter name could have been called anything. The type fetch is a real function that exists at runtime, so you can't write fetch as a type. Type of fetch means whatever type the built-in fetch function has, roughly URL options. Any function with that shape is accepted. The sender. Where do we use this though? Let me go back. So we have the sender here. This dot sender. Response equals await. This dot sender URL. Oh, I see. And options. why do we need to pass that as a variable into the function? Oh, because there's different, I see, because this, oh, no. Because it is a class called fetch directly, there would be no way to test it without a real internet. The parameter isn't for production. Production happily uses a default. It's an escape hatch built in on purpose. Think about hardwired would look like. Fetch, whatever. This works fine in the app, but now ask, how do you write the test in HTTP 4.4.1000 invalid? You'd need a real OpenAI API to actually return a 4.1, so your tests need a network connection, an API key, money, and OpenAI cooperating in production. Each failure you want to test is even worse. You can't reliably make the real API do that on demand. Your test suite becomes slow, flaky. The only way. So then this says, oh, because you just throw whatever. So fetch, yeah, so if you throw in the sender, so if you throw this in as like a random promise and a response, then you can test it without. That's cool. That's really cool. Data, yep, response.json, constant data.choices, message first choice, and in first choice.message, content message, and in message.content. So if the length of the output, yeah, because the finish reason needs to be stop, not length. And if it is length, it was cut off. And then we parse the content from the message. JSON to parse the message content, and then return the JSON, the finish reason, the usage. Cool. And hopefully there's no errors. Oh no, there is. Let's see. This says the length stop undefined is not assignable to type LLM. Oh. I see. I don't think types had undefined as a finish reason. Cool. So did we redefine that? No, we didn't. So what did the AI do? Oh, I guess this throws a error anyways. Yeah, that's what I thought too. It was unreachable anyways. So, I'm gonna try out this next step. Write an OpenAI provider spec with a fake sender, no network, happy path results. We could try that. Let's see how well the code will generate. So we're gonna have to test our OpenAI client. Oh, I don't think it even worked. So we have this open. We have all this. Fill the selection. No, it does work. I have this turned down. Cancel. Oh, wait. Cancel. That's okay. I have this. Okay, let's try this again. Let's see how good of a job this actually does. Try this again. No. Still, I can't see anything. Let's try that. So this. I don't think. I guess it would be important to see like how. processing structured output, response, truncated LM request from source provider / types.js function make request LM request return model GPT-4 messages. So you can have a role system content system prompt role user content, insert the user prompt. So we're gonna make an LLM request and return those things. What did I do? Yeah, I'm saying. What? Max tokens 100 temperature 0.1. Okay, so describe OpenAI client. Returns parse JSON plus finish reason plus usage on happy path. So you have to make a fake sender. .fn an async function. Okay, true. And then JSON async. So we're defining this fake sender. Okay. Oh, I see. So this would be the return type. Equals new OpenAI client. which takes an API key, a base URL, and a fake sender as any. Make request. What? Oh. Client.complete request. So we have client.complete, which is going to return, hopefully, the same value. Expect the res.json to equal what we sent in. Super simple. Expect the finish reason to be stop. Expect res.usage. Okay, so this is all the same. And then you could do the truncated air one and all the test cases. Cool. So this is just, okay. So got the OpenAI provider implemented, and the test logic here let me verify this by creating a test config and checking if the IDE air is clear. Then I'll also check what's actually hosted to the root. After that, I can document. Oh, nice. So that means I could just import. I'm guessing. Can I do this now? No. Okay. So we can run this. I don't know if we need to PM pass. Maybe CD packages, CD agent, 7 passed. Okay. We can also watch mode returns on save. Test providers OpenAI test. And you can also run this. And we can also run MPX. MPX. And then this will just watch. And so if there is a change, so if I did like, that's cool. Cool. Next we have to make an Anthropic provider. see, because I think the OpenAI provider is all we technically need right now. So we could probably just move past that task into actually, so the Ollama, okay, build the provider registry client name. So that'll be task 7 and registry.ts. So I say we restructure the tasks. Okay, so what could we do? Sorry, we worked this. So we have to build a provider registry, client name OpenAI, returning the LLM client plus the OpenAI default model ported from V1's LLM provided. The registry is the same day. Cool. F code should have updated. Create client. Okay, so we can fill in this selection. In registry.ts. So we could do LM client from create OpenAI client. I don't think that exists. OpenAI underscore default model from dot /OpenAI. I don't think. Create OpenAI client. Export. LM provider name, OpenAI, export interface, provider registry, create client, name, LM provider name, API key, string model, string, client, default model, provider name. Provider registry, provider reg. We define two functions. We have to create client, name, API key, model, switch, name, case. Is there a better way to do that? Like, could we like create an enum or something? I say we create an enum there. Default model name, switch, name, case, OpenAI, turn OpenAI underscore default model. I don't know, because this here. Okay, well, let's get some ideas, I feel like. Yeah, there's no way. First of all. Like, you should be doing like provider name, like enum LLM provider. We should do provider name. No. Like, we don't even need this. We don't have like a create client. I kind of want it to be like, oh, you could do like Anthropic, Ollama. You can take this and do the, you can take the LLM provider name and do like that. And then you can switch. And I think you can do OpenAI. Well, you do provider name dot OpenAI. also make it default. And we can just return the same thing. OpenAI client class instead. It should be importing the OpenAI to the registry, create client, returning the LLM plus the OpenAI default model pointed from V1's LLM provider. And then you have these two. OpenAI client. LLM provider name. Default models. I don't know if I want to use default models. Probably use GPT 4.1. I don't know if I want to use a mini. LLM provider, API string. Let me share this. Factories, create client. Well, what do we get? API key. Oh yeah, because this just has the default thing, which is gonna point it at that sender. It's just gonna be the fetch option. And then this does all that. So then we could just do OpenAI return factories at name and API key inside of a map. So now we can run create client and type in, and we could just give it a string. Create client and give it a random API key. because that's a LLM client now. So you could do or, and we could do Anthropic because we need to implement that later. And we can do or Ollama. And then this, oh, I see. You need to do something like that. And then this is an LLM provider name, because it takes a name and an API key, and that gets a map to OpenAI client. Name. Let's see. Okay. That makes sense. And these are the default models. We don't have to run this. And then we export the packages public surface. Type, heirs, providers, registry from the entry point. try that. Re-export the package's public surface from the entry, replacing the export placeholder with the explicit name re-export, no next import paths, end in .js. You just have to export all of this LLM role from types. I don't remember implementing that. Maybe. Oh yeah. LLM role, LLM message, LLM request, LLM finish, reason, LLM response, LLM client, missing API key error, invalid, HTTPS, status error, missing structured output error, invalid structured output. Okay, and then we can and default model export, create client, LM provider name, and default model from the registry. Create client, default model, default models, and the name. Oh, and you could just do like OpenAI. Let's see. From ./providers/registry.js. So now we can export all of the packages. And save that. That's good. Port the edit schemas to schema.ts. First PMP add Zod not installed. This is a huge task. Port the edit schemas. Put the edit schemas to schema.ts. First PMPM add Zod, not installed yet. Zod anchored edit schema. Anchor string position enum after before replace. and whole file schema content string with inferred types anchored edit, whole file parse edit, anchored edit, export, anchored edit schema, C.object. Anchor C.string position z.enum after before place declaration code c.string. What is Zod? I don't even know what Zod does. Zod. Basically just like a JSON schema. So you get to z.object, anchor is a z.string, a position is an enum, after, before, replace declaration, code is z.string. Z.string refine async. Oh my god, I can do async. Parse async. Hello. Damn. That's crazy. You could have async schemas. Refine. Safe parse async. Hello. Export type anchored edit is equal to z.infer type of anchored edit schema. What is z.infer? Z.infer is a static type from your schema definitions. You can extract this type with a z.infer utility and use it however you like. So you define a player, type player is equal z.infer type of player, extracted inferred type. But then how did you make a, okay, so this is player.parse. So you have a, but what happens if you just z.string.refine player.parse, safe parse. And then you have to infer that type. And then you can make things from this anchored edit Okay. Export constant. Whole file schema is equal to z dot object content z dot. Okay, yeah. So this is just the whole file that would pass in here. What is the anchor though? Anchor is so the position is after, before, replace. The anchor would be what you want to replace in the code. The code is the new stuff coming in. We're either going to do it after, before, we're going to replace it, or replace declaration. Okay. Replace declaration is another type we have. And then we have a whole file schema that is just all the content in the file. And we can export type whole file is equal to z dot infer type of whole file schema. Cool. Parses so we're an anchored edit from model output, applying v1's defaulting rules, null if code is missing, or white space only. Anchor defaults to position is lowercase and unknown / missing values default to after param JSON unknown returns anchored edit or null. So the parameter JSON is going to return an anchored edit or null. So export function parse edit JSON unknown anchored edit or null if type of JSON is not or JSON parse out of JSON. So we're passing in a JSON of we're gonna see how this JSON is structured. So constant object is equal to JSON as record string unknown So we get an object is equal to JSON as record string from string to unknown. That code equal type of object.code. If the code is equal to a string, or else nothing. If code.trim.length is equal to 0, return null. Let anchor equal type of object anchor let position raw. Wait, so anchor is also a string. So the anchor is the old code, and then the code coming is the new code. Now we have to see where the position is. So if the object of position is equal to the string, object of position dot to lowercase, else after, and we're defaulting it to after. After, okay. Anchored edit. I don't get that. Anchored edit. A position. Oh. Anchored edit. A position. And then we have to switch. Case is after. Case is before. Case is replace. Case is replace declaration. Position is equal to, well, the position raw is just gonna bring it here anyways because it has to be after, but I guess just in case. Can't you technically just do as position here? No. You can't. Break. Default position. Return anchor to parse anchor, position, and code. Anchor. Anchor. Dot parse anchor, and that would return, because we're doing the top parse function, cool. So we got like a object back that we can use. And then we can just basically just use that. I see, so it's just an anchored edit. Can just use that as an anchored edit. Just do anchor position code. This lets us know when we call this function, we can just send a JSON in there. Okay. Yeah, we have to define the JSON schema though that OpenAI has to output. The OpenAI has to output in a specific format. So we have to define that format. So am I using a short? So this is the anchor. Unique, span, copied. I feel like AI loves to use the word verbatim. From the current file that pinpoints where the change goes. The existing line to insert next to the exact existing code to replace, or for replace underscore declaration, the signature of the declaration to replace. E.g. func start. It's doing TypeScript again. Start typing task, or I feel like here identifying the language before we get to this place is like super important, because if we identify the language that we're typing in and we have support for specific languages, it would be easier to write these prompts. So we have to make note of that. Into the code. So position. So insert the code after / before the anchor. Replace the anchor text itself, or replace declaration. Replace the whole existing declaration named by the anchor signature. Insert the code after before the anchor. Replace the anchor text itself. Replace the anchor text itself, or replace a whole existing declaration named by the anchor signature. feel like that's a bad description. So code type string description, the new code for after / before, only the new lines indented to match. For replace, the new code for after / before, only the new lines indented to match. The full replacement for the anchor. For replace declaration, the full new declaration required. Additional properties false, JSON schema name, task snippet, and then export constant whole file JSON schema type whole file JSON schema. So this is if you just want to write an entire file by yourself. Properties content type, which would be a string. And then these get passed into here. Code, object.code, object.code, yeah, because then this is not supported. This is .content. The complete new contents of the file after doing the current step required. Okay, let's see. I just want to take like some notes at the top here because I feel like identifying the language the file you are writing in will greatly benefit the prompt you will be using to write the code. So need to import sod. One-shotting the edit, especially for larger edits, will not be useful. A short unique span. Okay, so it's passing in a type string description after, before, replace declaration. Like, we need multiple AIs working here using different providers. Essentially, we should npm zod. Nice. Okay, cool. And then can you fix a file? At the top, fix the file. No. Fix the file. Keeping architectural notes for later. Okay. Identify the language of the file you're writing. By the prompt, we still need to import. Okay, we did this. Cool. Shorting the edit for larger edits will not be useful. We need multiple edits working. We have a different AI provider. Okay, wait. So this is just one-shotting. We have a bunch of things we're passing in like a specific format. I think for the new code, maybe an AI that is solely focused on writing code, and another one that is focused on where the code goes. Maybe would be a good idea. What did this do? Text your notes at the top left untouched. Which a schema name pulled out of both wire schemas. The name bug. The names now live in their own constraints, and a comment explains the rule so it doesn't regress. Anchored. Schema name. The names travel in LM. Oh. They must not appear inside the schema objects below, which are sent to the provider's strict validator and may not contain JSON schema keywords. Okay. You deal with you expand in comments at the top of the file with what I am getting at and maybe connect some dots for me. Don't remove the comments I have, but make new comments instead. This looks good though. You know, we have this OpenAI. We made this OpenAI LLM client today that can essentially call this chat completions. It can be tested. We tested that. We exported all the information. We'll make a schema.ts file that essentially will edit code and pass that through to the OpenAI chat completions client, but ask for three things. It's asking for an anchor, which is text it needs to replace. It's asking for a position of where to replace that text. It's asking for the new code to replace the text with. This is one use case of what I will essentially need for this application, but nonetheless, it's a start. Identifying the language of the file, you are right. Let's see what the AI said about this, because I need to make some architectural decisions here. And these, like, I feel like this is like a good idea because all these ideas that I'm having are coming from the fact that I'm using F code. And that's why I like this app so much. I feel like I'm back to actually coding, but like working with the AI. Even with like Codex, like if you look at the UI of Codex, you don't even see any code. Like it's human in the loop, but in the sense that it just asks you a bunch of questions. Cursor tries to connect the dots of information that is not there when you prompt it. Claude Code tries to do the same thing and connect the dots with information that's not there when you prompt it. Uses a ton of tokens. Be good, like this would be open source, connected to any model in the future. Write your own code again. Come up with ideas, be creative. You know, I feel like I've just like lost that creativity, and my subscriptions are a decent amount of money if like I look into what I have, like how much I've been spending on Cursor and Claude Code. Like if I just look in the last month, you know, $700 on Cursor just to, you know, not understand their own code base, try to release some AI coded product that's not been tested. So yeah, just, and then like if I look at like even like with all the edits I have done with Fcode, if I log into the ChatGPT platform here and I look at all the edits I've done from testing, probably over 100 different prompts. Let me look at my API usage here and see like what I'm actually at. I didn't even know. Oh wait, I need to go to OpenAI API. And we have to see like what is even my usage with OpenAI. I spent $1.25 for 18 requests. So 18 times $1.25, which is $23. I wonder what. Yeah, so it'll be $23 for 100 requests. It's about 500 to 1,000,000 tokens per request. 500,000 to 1,000,000 tokens per request with Fable 5. And today I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 requests, which is $31 for 20 requests. Which is pretty freaking insane of how expensive this has been getting. So I could triple that and still be $10 under, which gave me the motivation to like just complete, like just create my own harness here. But let's see what the AI said to how to improve this. Language, prompt, v1 already threads language through the solve, context prints. See, like, it's even wrong here. Like, this is wrong. You are using direct syntax language in the prompt here. Update this note. So it's refusing to listen. It's literally using, like, there's so many errors you find with using these things. Right here, it's using Swift code to direct the AI. This is in the prompt that would send to ChatGPT, which would be a bad prompt. Okay. One-shotting big edits in the future. V1 already paid for whole file reemits. Yes, now it gets it. Alright, so one-shotting big edits in the future. V1 already paid for whole file emits truncates on large files. That is whole story and why solve strategy never. Whole file is an existing file, no matter its size. When a single anchored edit is still too big, the fix is decomposition, not a bigger shot. Is actually known. The prompts.ts builders going into day. One-shotting big edits in the future. V1 already paid for whole file reemits truncate on large files. That is whole story and why solve strategy never. Whole files an existing file, no matter its size. When a single anchored edit is still too big, the fix is decomposition, not a bigger shot. Smaller task steps today. Later, let this schema grow from one anchored edit to an ordered plan of several small ones. So we'll make a Z array of anchored edit schemas, applied and verified in order. Day 11's compile gate corrective pass is the same idea at the loop level. So this will be happening on day 11 of recording. We are going to essentially make it so we can write bigger files. Day 11. Okay. This is saying going into day 10's per language declaration syntax hint. Language also picks the structural parser that results. This is day 10, but we'll have to solve that in. Different providers per role is exactly what the LM clients seem plus the registry by us. Every call site takes an LM client, so each role can bind its own provider/model. V1 set the precedent with the default model versus large default model. Everyday edits versus heavy task rewrites. Once day 2.5 lands, a cheap local role can run an Ollama while code writing runs a frontier model. See, that would be sick, because like you could still use these large models, but you don't have to use. So like we could use these large models, use large language models for large tasks, but not for everything. Some things can be offloaded into smaller models. Like, amazing idea. Or local models. Nice. Keep that there. Here, this schema already encodes that split. Code is the what, anchor plus position are the where. The where is only proposed by the model, a deterministic engine, unique range, resolve, place, and declaration. Refuses exactly once or nothing. Model proposes, code disposes. The solve machine even names the stages: grounding, proposing, placing. If placing ever becomes its own model call, the interface already exists. It would consume the writer's code plus the file and return anchor/position schema is the contract between the two. This is day 4/9. Cool. I'm going to set up a GitHub repo for this project on my GitHub. I'll be sure to link it in the live stream next time and have you guys be able to look at it, use it, and all that good stuff. I'll be sure to do that before the next live stream. But yeah, I think this is it for today. Came up with a lot of good ideas. And